All right, y'all. We're back again. Back again. Yes, yes. It's 11:22. Let's jump right into it. All right, hold on one second here. You know, I got to go ahead and I didn't get set up before I pressed the play button. But now we here. We're ready to go. So let's go ahead and jump right into the Nas 100. And we're going to go ahead and, as we do every day, just to make sure we're seeing similar things across our analysis, right? Because that means we're consistently looking at the market in a particular way. And if that way delivers in a particular percentage, then we understand that, well, we're doing trading correctly. You did. You did. All right. So here we are on this price action. We see this, right? We see this break above here on the daily time frame. Then we have to ask, okay, well, then first we saw this really wicky, very, very wicky breakdown. We finally saw a break up. We could say, okay, well, great. We have this NB here. And inside of this NB, the most obvious is this area here. The most obvious. Now, it could be something inside of here. And the reason why I say that is because we did have a wick below, right? So we had a break below here. So it probably looks something more like this or something like that. But we saw this wick break below this previous black candle here and then shoot all the way up, right? Because it opened, came down, and just went to the moon, really, to the moon, maybe to Pluto or beyond the Milky Way. I guess they call it the Van Allen belt, technically, right? So, anyways, or I think that's the edge, right? The Van Allen belt. That's like between our galaxy and the next. I don't know. I'm trying to be smart, but I'm really not. So let's go ahead and see here. We break above, and if this is the 12-hour, right? So half a day. Break above. We could probably refine it down into here somewhere. Maybe this wick, because it's still inside of this MB, right? So we break. So we want to see price still continue to come down here. So we go to 6-hour. Okay, great. We see here hidden zone, right? Hidden. It's hidden. Man, who would have thought you can't see the things that you can't see? All right, let's put that on repeat. It stopped. And we're going to continue to zoom in here. And what we're seeing on price action, we're going to go ahead and remove this, right? Because that was actually a slight joke. And yeah, well, we could say inside of this price action, right? We had a body close above here, break, body close above, break down. So we could say inside of this large daily, we have this particular NB, right? So then now if we're following structure, boom, it breaks down. And then we say, okay, well, it has to break above here or below here. And then finally, breaks down. Where did that come from? Where did this break come from? It came from above here. And it doesn't quite stop until we get down into here. Comes down, breaks above. We could potentially say, this is very, very ugly, by the way. Not the best looking price action by any means. So we could say something like that. Breaks above, breaks above, breaks above again, moves sideways, breaks below. So this is technically absorption. So we could say something like this. All right, breaks below. Where did that come from? Came from in here somewhere, I'd say. Breaks above. But let's use this one here. Let's say it came from here. Right? Because it breaks above. And then now we're in this area, in this zone here, or this MB. So then we say, okay, well, let's look for a supply inside of that to come back and retest to go higher, because we just had this very, very large move. And so, I mean, if I'm looking at my statistics, typically we do tend to see it come down and fill a lot of these areas. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this price action. And what do we see? Well, see this large wick down. I mean, on a lower time frame, it's probably in a mitigated zone for sure. Price comes down here, stops, pulls back, breaks. Could say that. Ugh, it's ugly in here. Ugh, disgusting. Boom, breaks above, pulls back, breaks above, pulls back ever so slightly, closes. You see that body close, pulls back ever so slightly, breaks above. And then we start to see it come down, bearish price action, boom, breaks down. So we could say, all right, on the 1 hour, we're looking at something like this. Breaks, where'd it come from? Here, finally breaks above again. We see break right here, so we say something like this. Right, body close, like this breaks right here. And we see it break above. Where does that come from? You could argue here. Breaks below again. We start to zoom in because we already have painted our own bias to be short here, short term. So then something like that. We see it continuously break below, right? Break below, body close. Where'd it come from? In here. But I think we pull back up into here. And we see a wick down. So we could potentially start to see some bullish, short-term bullish price action based on the bias that I'm trying to set up here for myself, with the idea that we ultimately want to come down into this zone here, this lower area, which, oof. Right, that's all we can say. Oof. Oof. Right, so if we're trying to force a trade today and we want to go ahead and get into some action, which probably isn't the brightest idea today, but hey, you know, it's okay. Tomorrow we have the Fed minutes, apparently. So let's go ahead and break down here. That's a wick. So maybe an absorption here to break above. We still have a body close. Looks like we're rejecting off of this area here. This is a 30-minute. We have about 9 more minutes until this particular candle closes. Let's zoom in and let's see what's been happening. Okay, break down, break up. Okay, comes back down. We start to see here. If we look here on the 15-minute, right, we could make an argument that price opened, it came and mitigated about 50%. So we probably like something like this. If we're looking at lower time frame zones, we probably, and we would look to confirm that on probably like a 3-minute. No, close the tab. Let's go 3. Wow, I put 3 month. Whew. Goodness gracious. I was talking about 3 minutes. So if we're looking for a short off of here, right, because we're seeing price right here, breaks down here. We have a larger 15-minute structure here, right? That's what we were just looking at, if you recall. So I'll zoom back out a little bit so we can go ahead and take a look at that. You see what I'm saying here? So it breaks above. We have this large area because it breaks below, right? You know what I'm saying right here, breaks below, right here, boom, right? Because if we're following price, and this is the slightly tough part about it, right? Because we have right here, fall off, move here, and finally break, right? We say, okay, well, this is valid for buys, which we said with an absorption, we were looking to the left slightly. So if you recall here, we were like, okay, well, absorption entry, cool. So then we're saying, okay, well, boom, breaks down. Okay, well, where did that come from here? But it broke structure here after it broke above here, right? So this was valid. Where did this break ultimately come from, or this up move come from? Came from down here. We saw it break below here. Now we're saying, okay, well, great. We have a supply zone in here to come and fill. But we're starting to see price fall off, right? And ultimately, we saw this larger area. Let's draw it in so we have this to view. Okay. And price came into here, right? And it looked like it did a little bit of absorption here. So now it looks like we're starting to break above. And realistically, we're saying, well, is this going to hold? And so on a lower time frame, that's where we came and we said, okay, well, potentially there's a 50% in there somewhere. And so that's where we went. We said, okay, we're going to look at a 3-minute. Great. And so now we're looking at the price. It's breaking, right? If you go back, you can just pretty much say that here we had these breaks. We started to come down, break, 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 and then break above. Boom. Move sideways, comes up, break above, right? But not really because we have this wick. But ultimately it fell off and then it validated this entire range. So I said a lot there. All I'm really saying is that there's a lot of price action in here that you can say is intermediate candlestick structure or candlestick breaks. If you take the wicks as breaks, that's great. I used to do that. Now I'm looking at body breaks. And so if I'm looking at this price action, this is where, right here on the 15-minute, last down move, break up, right? Now this is valid. Okay, great. Move sideways. Let me say, well, where did this break come from? Well, probably right here, right? And it keeps going. And ultimately, where does it stop, right? You said break right here, and then maybe it comes down and starts to break below, but and then finally it falls off. So this is really ugly price action at the end of the day. This is on the 3-minute time frame, but it does fall off. And so if we're looking at this, hindsight's 2020 for me personally. And so what I decided, well, this is entire move up because there's no really hard stops. It's just ugly price action until it falls off and it breaks this structure here. So then now I'm like, okay, well, this is valid for sales. All right, we can refine it to that last wick or that last up move for the down move, because what are we saying here? We're saying price open, right? It came up, mitigated about halfway actually, and then it fell off, came back, opened up, and it continued to fall off until, just we had all these candles and black candles in a row. So theoretically, you're probably looking at something like this potentially, because on a lower time frame, this is probably a very more refined zone, let's put it like that. But I like this right here. So if, and only if, as they may say in mathematics class, price starts to do what we want it to do, which it looks like, we have on this lower time frame, this 3-minute. Let's go to the 5 real quick. See price breaking up right after. Just always remember where you're at, right? Higher time frame, 15-minute zone right here. We came into here, we absorbed, right? So now this is looking bullish price action, right? We had this break above. We had a pullback. So technically, after this break above, we probably wanted to sell stop here to go higher, or excuse me, buy stop. But obviously, we weren't looking at the charts. And so now we see this break. And so we're looking here, right? And it's a body close. And so what would we say here? Okay, well, where are the unmitigated zones here? We could say price opened here, took off. And this is still really in here. It started to move sideways. Price opened here, took off. So maybe we could make an argument that we want to trade off of this zone right here. Continuation, lower time frame into this higher zone before going lower, before mitigating the very high time frame, which was the daily demand zone that we were looking at, to ultimately go higher, right? Are you all following me? I hope you're following me. Right? Remember, we refined this. We started looking at the 12 and then the 6, and then we ended up coming to the conclusion that there's a lot of area to be filled here. So we want to see price ultimately come back down to this demand zone before actually taking buys higher. But right now we're looking to go short, which is why we've started to build this bias where, okay, well, where do the higher probability moves to go short? Well, we said up here could potentially be a zone, right? But we're going to look to confirm this buy to go to this zone to ultimately fall off. And the confirms have to be perfect in these cases, right? Because these are high risk trades, very high risk, because we're using these lower time frame zones and we're trading back and forth. When ultimately we probably want to just stick with the bias of going all the way down to the demand zone to wait for buys. That is the ideal situation. I'm letting you all know this because what I'm doing right now is pretty risky and most people probably shouldn't do this. Why am I doing it? Well, because, I like forward testing this stuff. It's fun. With that all being said, we are going to go ahead and put an alert here. Remember, this is like a 3-minute zone here, right? So let's go to the 3-minute. This is a 3-minute that we've been looking at. So we're going to see if price comes here, mitigate. Well, I think, is it a 1 minute actually? I think, no, is it a 5-minute? I already forgot. Yeah, it's the 5-minute zone right here. So 5-minute zone inside of this NB that we just recently had a break on. And so now if it's a 5-minute, well, we probably want to confirm on a 15-second. So price comes in here. This is very, very large, as you can see. But if we can see price doing some good white coffee and behavior right now, right, we're probably having this a buying climax, automatic rally, one of the ST, or maybe like ST in here. And then probably ST and B, maybe spring, break up, retest, off to the races, potentially. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and set this alert, good old alert. And let's go ahead, open up our trusty dusty notepad plus and get our pre-baked alerts because that's just what we do. Hopefully everyone is having a absolutely wonderful morning here, wherever you're at. And what is this? This is Oanda. We're going to go ahead and put this demand zone here. Boom, bam, wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Good to go. We put that demand zone alert, and we're just going to wait for it to happen and see what happens and see if anything presents itself. All right, let's go to the euro. All right, as we were saying on the euro, let's go ahead and remove our drawings here. This last range that we just had a nice break from, right, like that. Man, I like the black and white candles a lot better than the purple, especially on this background, like light gray, more like a black to gray gradient. Oh man, looks nice. Okay, so right here, we just had this last break. Now, if you recall, right here, that's the break. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for a zone to potentially trade off of. And so as we see here, we opened, we mitigated the over here, we just kind of took off, never really came back and mitigated anything after this takeoff. So this is a valid zone for buys. And then we saw price come up, saw it pull back slightly and then take off again. So we probably have an unmitigated zone in here somewhere. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this 12-hour time frame. And as you can see, price did come down here, liquidated some particular, probably something in here. Let's keep zooming in. Yeah, maybe a 4-hour. No, I mean, we keep seeing this price action right here, this wick, and then we see it take off. So let's go here. And as you see, when we start zooming in, it starts getting crazy, right? You look at the daily and then you really start getting very, very micro here. You see this large move up. And so I think ultimately, if we're going to refine something in here, the last down move for up move, remember this is a daily zone here because we did have a recent daily break above, as you can see here, right? So if you say this was a break in this area, where did this ultimately come from? Somewhere in here, which is quite crazy of a move. It's actually an insane move. Look at that. Wow. So we could do something like this, right? Because price opens, never comes back in there. Ultimately, this is in a larger MB, right? We have a break above, right? We have a break below. We have this valid, and then we have a nice, very, very nice impulse candle, which we can say, okay, well, on the hourly, we're probably looking at something like that. And then again, we refine it down to this last demand zone, right? Last down move for the up move. And as you can see, price open, mitigated a bit, and maybe we have 50% in here somewhere, but then it took off ultimately. And so we could look for buys there, but ultimately we probably would want to look at this larger daily zone. In my honest opinion, we probably could see a nice little trade, right? Price comes down, 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 and then starts to move up a little bit or sideways and then down. And then we could probably see a real nice move higher. Or price can just keep going higher right here, right? It doesn't have to do any of that because, right, these are all just based on probabilities. So we could say something like this, intermediate candle structure, and we could project that out. And we could say, okay, well, that was an entire MB as a zone. Then we refine it down at mitigation of the open here. We could say S&D 2.0 right here, potentially with the idea that, right, this is a actual MB on this 30-minute, right? Because we see break up, come up, break up, right? So we have these MB clusters, right? These intermediate candlestick structures. So we could see that, and we could refine it all the way here and look for buys off of this zone. I mean, this is a very, 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 very small zone. We probably see some type of absorption in here, like a wick candle come down before ultimately going higher to probably mitigate something in here if price wants to do that. And it looks like price is slightly starting to turn around right here, but it's not turning around at anything that makes sense, in my opinion. So we could just start to see a redistribution here. So highs, breaking highs, breaking highs. Now if we see a break below here, which I'm going to put an alert here because I'm actually curious to see if I'm seeing this in this analysis is good. So if it breaks below here, and we want to see this break, retest to come lower to ultimately see if we can get a crazy trade off of this zone here, because we know currency pairs move like molasses. And so what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to go ahead and put a break of structure alert here, EOS, and see what happens there. All right, EG, you know what it be. Let's go on the daily. I don't know why I thought this looked good yesterday. Ooh, look at gold. This does look good on the daily. It just looks bullish, right? We could see something from in here, right? Ultimately, we saw price is absorbing in this area here, right? We see price break down. Okay, great. Hold on, let me draw this out, right? Price breaks below here, right? Where'd that come from? It came from here somewhere. So then we see price comes down and finally breaks above. So then we could say, okay, well, this is probably what we're looking at there. And then we say, okay, well, what can we trade inside of this MB? What looks like an unmitigated zone? Well, price opens, doesn't come back here. We say that. Price does mitigate here, maybe this wick, but I'd rather see it come all the way down here, all the way. Or here we have price mitigate in here, but again, this is daily time frame, so we could see some potential continuation off of this zone. So these are the two zones that I would look at. This one more so if price is, look, you see price starting to come down pretty hard. And I think it could start to move sideways and then come back up, make a nice move, maybe like 1 to 3, between 1 to 6. We could potentially see something like that. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. We start to zoom in here on the 6 hour, and price is just moving sideways. So when I'm seeing price like this and these large moves, right? Why not come down here? You know, gold tends to like to trend sideways over time, right? So if we look at the monthly, it's probably, yeah. So it's just really sideways. We had this large impulse this past month. There's almost 8 days left in this month. We had a high up, but it's starting to reject here. So I think, yeah, we still probably have some room to sideways motion. And the reason why I wanted to go up to the monthly is because you can see that it does make sense that it opens up and then it moves slightly down into here. That's not something that would be crazy for an entire month. And so if we go again back to the micro, then it probably makes sense that we could probably see, a lot of price action moving sideways, down, right, to fill in a lot of these areas. Or we could see it mitigate and come up. But I like this zone here. I'd say I'd wait for it to come all the way down here. And in the meantime, in between time, we know it's going to slowly make its way down there. So, well, why not trade it down? My philosophy. Why not? Why not? Go ahead, take a trade. All right, breaks down. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna leave gold where it's at right now. I think we already have a good amount of analysis that we're already looking at. Right here, $90 on this particular pair. Great. Where are we at here? Let's go to the daily. Well, anyways, we're coming up to the end of this this trade idea session for 11/22. Let's see if anything plays out throughout the day, and we'll come back here later on today or tomorrow to go ahead and do the review and see what actually happened. So it's been your boy B-Phil. Hit that comment section. Let me know what you like, what you didn't, what you would like to see. Hit that like button, and of course, hit the subscribe button if you want to continue with your boy on his journey to become a consistently profitable. It's your boy B-Phil. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.